Sis Tell. Sis Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Sis Tell. Amanda to stand up and Alison's on TV. When they hop on the phone, yeah, you know it's the place you wanna be. Sis Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hi, man. What's going on?
I just want to say I had a really fun time with you at prom. That was so fun.
At Purim or prom?
I said prom.
Oh,
Prom. We did
'cause
prom last weekend, remember?
Oh, the B'nai Mitzvah?
Yes. Yeah. Our cousins, our cousins had a B'nai Mitzvah. And by the way, she knows about the nefarious deeds that went on.
I know. We couldn't talk about this beforehand because we are anticipating what may happen. Now we can reveal what in fact did happen.
Yes. So
So first of all, let's explain B'nai because that's not a common term.
yeah, they don't know
So
that.
people that are not Jewish probably know bar mitzvah when you turn 13, a boy turns 13, or bat mitzvah when a girl turns 12 or 13, and it signifies your official entry into Jewish adulthood. But when you do it together with your sibling or someone else, the joint and gender neutral is B'nai mitzvah. So the children of the commandment. So our cousins, Izzy and Carter, brother and sister, did a B'nai mitzvah. It was so beautiful. Let's just
It
start
was
with
so
that.
much fun.
They are amazing. They're incredible young adults who are more mature than me and way more talented than I am or ever will be, and they're so inspiring, and they just did the most remarkable job. That part was just it was wonderful.
But beforehand, there were, there were
I
first of
say
all-
that.
yeah, first of all, there were several family group texts going on, and some of them were like, here are the addresses, here's the recap of the schedule. And our cousin Julie, who is our first cousin, who's the mom of Izzy and Carter, I think it was a caution that there would be the venue where it was at did not allow alcohol because it was affiliated with a public school system.
The
which we
party or the party was going to
Like
be.
we have a rec center also in Decatur that you can rent out their facilities, but they're like you cannot bring any alcohol. And I said to Allison, I said to you last week, I go, either she's telling us this and we're not allowed to bring alcohol at all,
Right.
or she's telling us this so we sneak in our own alcohol.
And it really wasn't telling us, to be fair, because they had sent out an evite. So it was a follow-up email to everyone who was coming to the B'nai Mitzvah. And so the text messages that ensued between our family were really some of the funniest I've seen
And
in a
Julie
long
did
time.
not know about these. I just
No,
want
no,
to
no, no,
say
no.
she didn't
Yes.
know that these were happening, but everyone was like taking drink orders. Allison was going to turn her minivan into a party van. We were going to tailgate. We started. Allison went through her house looking for all of her old flasks. I went
Yeah.
on to Amazon and discovered that pretty much everything has been turned into a flask. And it started with there's a flask bra, which I knew about. I'd seen that on like Pinterest or something, and that exists. It looks like a sports bra and it holds like a liter of wine.
Right. So let's back up a second. So we find out they're not allowed to serve alcohol on the premises because it's affiliated with the school system. But it was never like stipulated that we couldn't drink alcohol on the premises. So Julie kind of said, so drink before or after. And I'm thinking, okay. And so everybody immediately went to that same foregone conclusion, which is she wants us to sneak in alcohol. She's clearly saying it without saying it because she has plausible deniability here. But like the first thing we're like, we got to find our flask because I have 2 flasks here and I say they're old. They've never been used. They're sort of like joke flasks because I don't know where you take a flask. I'm really not a flask using type of gal, but I knew I had to, which I did. I found both of them. One had like a peacock
And I
design, and one was Mr. T. I love that
Oh yeah,
one.
that's my favorite one. Mr. Tequila, as I started calling him towards the
Yeah.
end of the night. But I have to say that we probably wouldn't have cared. Like if we had shown up and there would have not been alcohol, we would have been a little disappointed, but but the fact that we weren't allowed to have it made us want it even more.
Right, and we had
Like,
ample warning.
yeah,
That was
like
the thing.
we're not a lushy family. We're not like, let's
Well, we
go.
all enjoy a drink, right, or a glass of
Yeah.
wine, like any person in our family. I was gonna say any
Yeah.
person. Not everybody enjoys a good drink, but we all acted like they were about to shut down alcohol for the rest of our lives. And
Prohibition.
this
It was
right, it was about prohibition was coming back in. And ironically,
for
our
2
great
hours.
grandfather, right,
Yeah.
our great grandfather, who ran a bar in Montgomery, Alabama called the Red Bell, he was involved with prohibition, and he may or may not have. Anyway, I won't go there because
On the
mommy will
right
get
or
upset.
wrong
But
side, depending on your perspective. We'll just put
right,
it that
right.
way.
He was a victim of circumstance, and so it's come full circle. So now all of us were sort of, and this is multi generations who were thinking, "Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?" So I'm just bringing the traditional flask. That's when you started Googling what are other vessels that you can use to sneak into other venues
There's
in
so
order to get
many.
away with drinking, and apparently the list is endless.
So, for example, if you are going on vacation, let's say it's an all inclusive resort or a cruise ship or a beach that doesn't allow you to bring your own alcohol, they make sunscreen flasks. It looks like a sunscreen bottle, but it's a flask.
Mm,
Let's say you're going to a party and you are all in all these situations over 21. I just want to stipulate that.
yes.
They have this flask that's in the shape of a bangle. It's
Mm.
huge. It has a very big stone on it that is the top, and you pour your alcohol in there. They have the most interesting one I found was the flask tampons. And I am not making this up. They have like a fake box of tampons, and they're really like test tube shaped flasks that go into little fake tampon packaging. And I'm assuming that's for a cruise ship because they are not going to go through your tampons. But if there's a woman looking through your stuff and she sees, she's going to know fake tampons,
Right,
right?
right.
Like
I
unless
would
you're like,
assume.
what are these, like a European brand? Like you pretty much know all the.
Right, like those stupid OBs,
Yeah.
those tiny ones, those don't even look real.
And so Oscar,
But I digress.
Oscar, I am going to digress here. And Oscar, who this was like a year and a half ago, then he's now 13, but he came up to me and said, Mommy, there's this water bottle I really love at this store. And there's this local store called Homegrown, and they sell literally it looks like an Etsy store. It's all stuff made by people from Atlanta, from Georgia, or whatever. And he said, I've been saving up and I really want to buy this really cool water bottle for myself. It's really nice. And I said, okay, go for it. And I even like after school, I dropped him off and waited in the car. And maybe I didn't wait in the car because it was the next day that this happened. But I dropped him off. He came home, and then the next day, he's like, "I'm taking my water bottle with me to school," and he pulls it out, and it is a flask. And I'm like, "You cannot take that to school. You can't drink out of that." And he's like, "Why not? I already started drinking out of it." I go, "First of all, didn't you notice it only holds like maybe a cup of water? Like that is not even like enough water to last you more than
Right.
5 minutes." And I go,
I'm surprised you didn't say, aren't you surprised that you didn't notice it only holds 3.5 ounces of of water?
that only holds 4 shots. So he had no idea what it was, or maybe he did and he thought it looked cool. But you know who did know who it was? It's the people at the store who sold it to him.
Of course they did,
Yeah,
selling a flask to
I
a
know.
unsuspecting 13-year-old.
And then I made him return it, and they took it back without any questions.
As they
And
should, as they should.
you imagine him walking around school with
Right, we're gonna need to check your
mean,
bag, Oscar.
oh my
Okay.
god, he would have been sent home. That's like paraphernalia. Like they have
Right.
like no paraphernalia, no drug paraphernalia. That definitely a flask in school would be labeled as paraphernalia.
Right. So meanwhile, we're at this B'nai Mitzvah, and I may or may not have
The
2
party,
flasks.
the
The
party,
party, the
you should
party.
say. It was not the
Well, let's
service.
be clear. We could have brought alcohol into the synagogue all day long.
It
That's
would have been,
welcome. That's
yeah.
legal. That's yeah, that there would have
Everyone
been
gets
no
a bottle of Manischewitz when you enter the synagogue.
right, there would have been no sneaking. Synagogues are very liquor and alcohol friendly. But this venue was not, and it was an awesome venue. And so, I will say I was not the only one who was maybe carrying some
Right.
illegal substances, and so
No,
probably
it wasn't illegal.
not
We
illegal
weren't, but
substance.
like just not prohibited on that on
Sorry,
that site.
I was not the only person who had been violating the temporary prohibition laws at this venue,
Thank you.
and that was actually one of the funniest parts of the evening is everybody trying to like switch and like pour and being really discreet and like
Finding mixers.
yeah. We may or may not have gone into the bathroom to
No, we
spike
did.
our bubbly
No,
water.
we
So
did. Allison and I went into the bathroom, went into the big stall, and made our drinks after we peed in front of each other,
after
and
we were laughing
that's why
hysterically.
it was like prom. And then there was a woman who was in the lobby who
Right.
worked there, and then I was like, "She knows."
I was afraid that she was going to bust us. Here's
We
the
were
funniest
so
part of the thing.
paranoid.
I literally only had that one drink the whole night.
I
So it
know, me
wasn't like
too.
I got drunk or anything. I only
No,
had, 2 ounces maybe of tequila in my bubbly water, and that was it.
that
I'm
was
well
it
over
for me.
21, so it was not like doing anything. The act of doing that though was much more fun of like sneaking it in and like feeling like very naughty than the end result, which was making a drink.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was hilarious. And to be fair, nobody talked to our cousin. I didn't know how she'd feel. And the next morning she was like, I heard you had a flask. I go, well, actually I had two. But she thought it was hysterical. And it was a fun night. Here's what I learned from that because everybody started sharing the when did you sneak something into something conversation, especially as an adult where you can legally drink, but you may not be able to legally bring on. So I was sharing that on an airplane recently. I was sitting next to a young woman. She looked like in her mid 20s, maybe late 20s, clearly in school, like graduate school for something. She's studying a textbook. And when the flight attendant came by and said, can I get anything to drink? She asked for a Prosecco. And so they gave her a can. And she goes, well, would you like orange juice or anything with it? She goes, no, no, actually, the can is fine. I'm just going to drink it later in the flight. And she goes, okay. And then I watched her wrap it in a napkin, put it in her backpack, and never take it out again. And I thought, wow, she just got a free drink for later. And that was brilliant.
That is
So
smart.
I'm like, how many times have I sat in like Delta Comfort where I get a drink? I've never taken the drink because I never drink on flights and just not saved it for later. What have I been missing out on? I could have been filling my entire, bar or stocking my refrigerator with these mini cans of whatever, Prosecco, Chardonnay. I mean,
That's
not that it's the best.
brilliant.
It's brilliant,
Oh,
right?
man.
So
Yeah.
I was telling
Or
our
you could
friend
do a little gift basket for
do little
someone.
gift baskets out of the Delta Comfort Chardonnay Prosecco cans. I know this
Yeah.
is look, everybody who's too cheap to go buy
Yeah, we're
a
frugal.
housewarming gift and you're flying there, just grab that, throw it in a barf bag and make that the
Get
gift.
everyone around you who's not drinking to collect their cans and hand them over. You could have a
100%.
nice little 12-pack to give to your host.
Yeah. So I'm telling this to our friend Jamie, who's at the B'nai Mitzvah, and he says, "Oh yeah." He goes, you're not supposed to bring your own alcohol on any flight. They make that announcement. He says, but there's this hack at the Sky Club with the Starbucks cups. And I'm like, what? And here I am again, so naive. I said, what do you mean the hack? He says, oh, yeah. Everybody who goes into the Delta Sky Club or into whatever airport lounge, and you get the coffee cup, which of course is not see through, and a top. We just go up to the bar, put a little alcohol in it, and then you bring it onto the plane as if it's coffee, and nobody knows any different. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's
You're
smart.
bringing fake coffee as alcohol on a plane? I never thought of that. He goes, oh, the bartenders are in on it too. They're like, all right, sir, can I help refresh your coffee for you and all your friends?
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Then he tells me that he has this whole hack for making espresso martinis in the Sky Club,
Oh,
which I'm telling him
delicious.
at this point, I'm sorry to tell you, I don't remember the exact ingredients or recipe. I know it has something to do with some vodka, some espresso, maybe a few shots of like vanilla syrup. All this to say is, I think there needs to be, maybe there already is, but like a whole Insta or YouTube
Secret
channel
menu.
dedicated to secret ways of bringing alcohol into places. This is turning into a terrible
I
idea
know.
as I'm
This is
saying it.
this is
I'm like, no, there
becoming
shouldn't be.
I think we're gonna have to make this podcast episode explicit on the when
I
when
know.
I
I know.
upload it. This is we may need to make a warning at the beginning that
I
this is for
know.
21 plus to enter.
I think my boys are going to be like, Mom, we already know all these hacks. You're just an idiot. And then I'm going to feel like a bigger idiot because I'll realize they were probably doing all of this way before I realized how to do any of this.
Yeah,
So
I don't
naive.
know. You know what was fun to think about is if we had grown up either like a year apart or as like twins, all the trouble we would have gotten into.
Mm.
And I think you would have been the one to get me into trouble because I was such a rule follower and you were not. And you would have been like, it'll be fine. And I would have been like, okay.
Okay. I was the biggest rule follower. I don't know why you think I was going to be the rebel. We are
You
not.
were.
No.
You did stuff that I did not do in high
Well, I didn't
school.
know I was being rebellious. We gotta can this conversation
Okay,
because
we'll
Mom and Dad
stop.
listen to this. All right, I'm changing subjects because I have to tell you I am in big trouble already, and do you know why?
No, what happened?
I always use a GPS to get places.
Except what
I just
happened?
do. No, that's why I'm in trouble because
Yeah.
I've been watching these news shows over the past 24 hours, and the popular news show of the past 24-hour cycle is how your GPS is making you dumb and how it's going to affect your memory. And if you don't try to get to places on your own and navigate with a map without someone telling you how to go, it's
Oh.
going to adversely affect your memory long term. So I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh, whatever. I think you're either already dumb, that's all I'm saying. You think GPS is affecting you?
Yeah.
No. And guess what? I use GPS not as the rule, but as like a guide, right? So I always look to see what it says because it's not always the best way, especially if I have to make a left out on a street and I know there's not a traffic light there or a four-way stop. Then I don't go that way. So I think it's
Well,
just.
I use Waze, and I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that Waze is 99% usually the fastest, most accurate way to go.
Yeah,
And
and
see,
it'll
this just
reroute
shows
you if
this
there's,
is
like.
how dumb I've gotten. Now I'm defending an inanimate object. I'm like, it's like Waze is my
But
nephew.
it's not always look, it's good for, like, the times I haven't put it on just to tell me if traffic is awful and it's trying to reroute me
Right.
on a totally different way, I've always kicked myself. I'm like, "Why didn't I just put on Waze just to see what was going on with traffic?" But, like, when we came home from Savannah, Waze, like, rerouted us, and we saved probably 45 minutes because it's, once you hit 50 miles outside of Atlanta, then you don't know what's gonna happen in front of you. It's, like,
Right. And it also tells
apocalyptic.
you if there's a police officer, which is good. It's the new
Yeah.
like Fuzzbuster.
But you can use that, without actually putting in your location of where you're
Right.
going,
Right. But
and
then
it'll
it tells
still
you
tell
every
you.
pothole and every time there's a car stopped. It gets a little annoying.
Oh, I
Here's
like
the
it.
thing. I spent the first, majority of my life without GPS and navigating either by instinct or getting lost, which I'm not the best geographically, so I did get lost or still do get lost a lot and figuring out that way. And do you remember, I don't know if you ever used it, but the AAA triptych?
Yes, I use that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's literally, and I went on so many road trips and had that, 55-page spiral notebook that was highlighted with the yellow Sharpie, and you had to follow all this, and there was only one way to go ever. There was no like if in case there was traffic jam, you know what you did?
Call
You
daddy.
sat there.
No, you did, you sat there.
You sat
Pulled
there and you
over.
just waited. Like there was no rerouting. So I feel like the old-fashioned way, there is merit that you navigated, you figured things out, you problem solved, and you had to get very patient. And you had to learn how to pack a lot of snacks and pee in a bottle if
Yeah.
necessary. I
Oh,
mean, there
did
are
you
lots
pee?
of
Did you do that? Did you pee
no,
in a
I didn't
bottle?
do that.
I don't know
No.
how women do that. I don't even
No.
know. I don't
I would have
understand.
rather pulled over to the side of the road and
And
like gone behind
squatted.
a very flimsy tree than
Yeah.
pee in
I'd
any sort of
rather, like,
vessel.
the
No.
world on the highway see me pee than try and pee in a bottle
100%.
in my car. Like,
There's
I
no
don't know.
way.
Boys,
There's
it's
no way.
different. They
Yeah.
have, like, they can aim,
Yeah.
right? We cannot.
For the obvious reasons, it's just different.
Yeah.
Well, the story went on to show, though, all of these senior citizens doing like these, like hiking, it almost looked like Outward Bound. And I don't know if it was like geocaching, some kind of caching,
Yeah.
where they were following trails. Now, that's different. I'm not going to use my Waze in the middle of the forest. I do believe in old fashioned navigation
Also, it
and
doesn't work.
following a map. And it doesn't. And I don't get any
It's
signal
not
out there. I've
working.
tried.
Well, did you hear about the guy who got lost in like the middle of nature, and he was on some trail and got off trail, and he had a drone with him, and he had no reception, so he wrote a text out, tied his phone to the drone, and sent it up in the air. And then
No.
once it got reception, it texted his friend his coordinates, and his friend sent help. And then the like the state troopers or whomever came to get him, and on the way, I think he was like in his car and maybe like stuck in like a snowbank or something. But on the way to find him, they found another guy who was also stuck, who had no way of reaching anyone.
Who had no emergency drone.
He did not have an emergency drone in his car.
All right, great. Now I need to keep my phone in my car at all times for Waze and an emergency drone in my car at all
Yeah.
times.
You don't have an emergency drone yet?
I don't have an emergency drone.
Uh-oh.
No. I
No,
got to
you,
get
you got to talk to Dad. You need the emergency air pump for your car, and the
lots of
things.
what ifs.
What are the
There's a
things?
big
The
insurance
battery.
policy.
What are those things called?
The battery jumper, the jumper cables.
And now
Yeah.
you need an emergency drone. It's
I
the
know.
updated
There's a
version.
lot. Yeah.
You know, when I was with Mom and Dad in North Carolina and Cashers, and their tire blew, and that guy pulled over to help us, Dad was so proud that he had that contraption in the back of his car. This thing that you plug into the lighter, and it just blows up, adds air pressure to your tire. He's like, just in case, I've got this, Josh. And he like nodded. Great, sir. There's no way that's freaking fixing this tire.
Unless that sends up an emergency drone to call AAA, there's no way that gadget's working.
I needed an emergency drone to bring me some Mr. Tequila. So when we were coming back from Savannah, we stopped so many times. That's why I try and like dehydrate my kids before road trips, because
Yeah. See, we didn't have any kids. We stopped one time in the span of 5.5 hours.
good for you, because
Yep.
it's like a numbers game. 3 kids, they all drink something. I tell them not to, and then they all have different size bladders and pee schedules. So, but one of the last times we stopped, I was so excited because it was at a gas station that was also an animal safari. And
What?
yeah, it had like it had a petting zoo and like a little playground and an animal safari. And so they like there was like an animal safari bus that you were supposed to. I went inside and I go, "How does the safari work? Can we just drive through it?" He goes, "No, there's a bus. It's getting ready to leave in 5 minutes."
How much was
And
it?
he said it was I forget. It was not that much. It may have been like $5 a person or $10 a person. And maybe it was $5 to get into the petting zoo and like $10 per person to do the safari. I was like, it was 30 minutes. That's how long it took to go through it. And we just wanted to get home. But if
Right.
it'd been me and Aaron, I've been like, we are going on that
For
safari.
sure.
But
And what determines that they are allowed to say the word safari in the middle of Georgia?
I mean,
Like,
I don't know.
what kind of animals?
Who knows? Maybe there's some giraffes and ox and cows and camels. I don't know. It's not like the word organic or natural, but also you can use those words and there's no regulations. There's no regulation on the word safari.
Except it's being a little misleading. I mean, safari to me means like game
Lions.
animals. Like, but yes, it indicates to me
They may have had
something African descent, not just giraffes. That would
Right.
be like a zoo field trip.
Well, I don't know because we didn't go on it, but this is what I overheard right before the safari trip take off. The guys behind the counters, we'll just call them Bubba's, just to give you a nice little picture of what they looked like. But they're super Southern hats.
And by the way, we call our brother Bubba,
overalls.
so
We
that
do,
gives
and he
me no
does-
indication.
He does not look like a Bubba, but these guys looked like if you're picturing what a Bubba looks like, these were Bubba's. And one of them is showing the other one his phone. He goes, oh gosh, it looks like there's a tornado watch. And then he says, okay, time for the safari to go.
we gotta get that money before everybody realizes.
Well, I said, this is how like every disaster movie starts, right? This is how-
You'll be fine. The bus is very heavy.
Right? I was picturing like they're in the middle of some southern field surrounded by random farm animals and maybe like a wolf or a bear, and then a tornado hits. And I said, they're not the main characters either. They're just the beginning of the disaster
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I guess so those people are not going to survive. They're just there to move the storyline along.
Yeah, these are the people in Jurassic Park who get eaten the first like 20 minutes.
Totally. It's
It's like,
the
no,
yes.
yes, you're not
We're
an
just
important character.
establishing that, and it becomes like Sharknado, right?
Right.
But with like George's version of safari animals in a tornado. Oh
I would
man,
really like to go back to that safari gas station. Did
Safari
you?
Nado.
Yeah.
I do
If you could tell me the name of it, then maybe I can get out my paper map and I can find it and I can
Oh.
try to navigate there all by myself without anybody helping me.
I would totally go back there. We can live stream it, and it's probably just we did one. We did a safari. Remember?
Yes.
Your boys were little. Murray was like 18 months old. I
With
picture
Mimi on one of the trips for her birthday, I think.
Yeah,
Our
that's what
grandmother.
I
Where
picture
was
it.
that? North Carolina or somewhere?
No, it was in Georgia. It was like 45 minutes outside of it was something gardens, something.
I have the picture. And
Yeah.
there were what kind of
It was
animals were
so
those? Like cows,
it was but
deer.
there was like exotic cows.
Right.
But they would like it was like a school bus or like a 17 we were in a 17 passenger van, but it didn't have like windows, so the animals could like stick their heads in and then you'd feed them. But I remember it was like you can't get out, and then Murray like threw his sippy cup.
I remember that.
Remember? He
Yes. And we
threw
were
his
afraid the animal would eat it
and
because
it
it
was
could
yeah.
die.
So we
Yes.
had to like he threw the sippy cup, and then we had to and we didn't have a driver. We were the driver. You like rent the van. And so we had to back up, and then I had to run. And I had to jump out of the van, and they were very like, "Do not get out of the vehicle." And it felt like Jurassic Park, but with safari animals or exotic cows. And it was like I was like I needed to look out, and I had to run and get that sippy cup before I was attacked by a giraffe or an emu. I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
we did. We
That
saved
was,
the sippy
yeah.
cup.
See, I really, my bucket list is to go on real safari, not Georgia gas station safari, but a real safari somewhere, somewhere in Africa or South Africa one day. And the
Yeah.
boys know this. And now it's just become sort of like, that torturous statement where, anytime somebody mentions even a lion or a National Geographic special, the boys will go, "Yeah, mom's dying to go on safari."
But just to further explain, you don't want to like shoot large animals. You want to take
No, that's not
you
what a
want to
safari is. I want to visit them. No, I would never shoot a large
I
animal.
know, or
I want
any
to pet
animal.
them.
You
I
want
know
to
I
I want to
shouldn't pet
cuddle
them.
with you, lion.
Yeah. I think Facebook knows about my safari obsession because all of like the videos that pop up that are distracting in the middle of the workday are all about like people who are petting lions or
Do
out
not
in
pet. Don't
yeah,
do
and
that.
sharks. I also have a shark like fascination.
Yes.
So I'm always like distracted by these shark videos or lion videos or
Every
tiger
week is Shark
videos.
Week for you, Allie.
I know. It's amazing.
Well,
It's
let me tell
amazing.
you something. Do not go on a hippo boat excursion because have you seen the
Yeah,
hippos?
those hippos are faster than you think they are.
They are fast. Hungry hippos they're vicious. They are territorial. And I've seen these like riverboat guides who purposefully will try and get the hippos to chase them because I guess the tourists like it but don't like it.
Right.
And they think it's hilarious to have the hippo on their tail, but all it takes is one time for the boat to not work, for it to not be
Right.
as fast, or for the hippo to be faster than they expected, or for there to be a surprise hippo. You have to look out for the surprise hippos.
Yeah. They are mean little suckers. And you think of them as just like big old cuddly sort of like oversized
Slow
hairless dogs, but they're not.
cows. Yeah,
They
they
are
look like
right, giant sea cows, isn't that what they are called? But cows are not fast. Hippos,
their
yeah,
tusks.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you seen them crush a watermelon in their mouth? It's
That's a good video.
Those are good. Yeah. I will totally go to a zoo and feed a hippo a watermelon. That's what I'm good at. That's
I'll
what I'm
get
good
that for your
with.
next birthday.
Thank you.
A hippo watermelon feeding session. I'm sure that exists.
So Murray's birthday's coming up and he's turning 17 and he doesn't really want to party. We're going to take him out to dinner, but I was like, that'd be so much fun to do old school, right? An old school birthday party and like have a petting zoo come to the house for all these 17-year-old boys who are
Oh my
6'5".
gosh.
Wouldn't that
I
be
would
so
love
much
that.
fun? I would love it too. Is like for my next birthday, like I might just get a petting zoo for myself.
You know what I want for my next birthday? I'd like those therapy dogs to come. No, even
Puppies.
better. I
Therapy
forgot to tell
puppies.
you. I forgot to
What?
tell you.
What?
Guess what they have? Therapy miniature horses.
Oh.
I saw them and they're the cutest thing. You would have thought I was a 5-year-old at the circus for the first time.
Mhm.
Alan and I, when we went to go visit Arthur
They don't
in
try and bite
Chicago,
you? They seem very
no,
bitey.
well, I didn't get that close, but all of a sudden we were walking on campus at Northwestern, and I see these miniature horses, and I was on the phone with. Oh, I was there by myself. So I was on the phone with Alan, and all of a sudden I go, anyway, so we're walking around campus, miniature horses, I must go. Miniature. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, I don't know. There are miniature. I got so excited. I ran over. They were having dance marathon, which is, the 36-hour you dance for 36 hours. You would love
Yes.
this. They're on
Oh,
all these
yeah, I
different college
would.
campuses. They raise money
Okay.
for some sort of charity, but they bring in therapy puppies and things like that to distract the dancers and help them out because they've been dancing for
Can
so
you
long.
dance with the puppies and the horses? Because I would
I
do
don't
that.
know, but the miniature horses were part of the therapy or
It's like
the,
goat yoga.
keep going session. And so I missed out on that. And I just got the, no pun intended, but the tail end of the horse as he was walking back. But it does make me realize there are animals out there for rent we just have no idea about. We should explore.
I just crowdsourced on our neighborhood Facebook page about whether or not I could have a miniature a miniature rescue cow in my backyard because people allow chickens. And the answer is yes, but with lots of stipulations. And I don't have enough acreage to allow for a miniature cow. But if I did, you could come over and pet him.
I would love
And
that.
and
Thank you.
you could come over to my safari.
The homestead safari.
Amanda's one cow safari. And that's how I paid for my kids to go to college. Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. Don't forget to share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Allison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.